following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
We are back, in case you're wondering, with George Case. I'm Ralph Tycho with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, and we have a fine panel of guests to talk to George and Ronnie Rabinovich to introduce first our panel and then our guest of the day, Ronnie Rabinovich.
How you doing, Ralph?
I'm fine. Yourself?
Good. I'm doing great.
All right. Hang in there,
We have
Ronnie.
a wonderful guest here.
All right.
His name is
First
Lawrence Perlmutter. Huh?
First the panel.
We have David. Okay, we have David Hubler here.
Hi.
David.
Hello.
Alan Blumpkin.
Hi.
George Case.
Yeah, thank you, Ronnie. We're looking forward to it today. It's going to be a good session.
Okay. And our special
Ronnie,
guest
you
is
brought
Lawrence.
a guest.
Huh?
You brought a guest.
I brought a guest. Yes, I did. His name is Lawrence Perlmutter. He's a dear friend of mine. He lives in L.A. And Lawrence does a lot of analytics with the Dodgers, and he's done it with other teams before. And he has a project that he's working on, which is just wonderful, about for homeless people, veterans, abused children. He does a lot of work with Ronald McDonald House. It's a great honor to have Lawrence on the panel. Welcome, Lawrence.
Welcome. Thank you for letting me be a guest of the wonderful show.
Well, you're always welcome here. You do some great work in the community, Lawrence.
Yeah, he sure does. Lawrence, tell us a little bit about your project, first of all, and then we can go from there.
The project is helping the homeless people who society has forgotten, and the veterans who come back from wars who have been forgotten and not given the proper respect that they deserve, and also helping the abused children who society wants to leave on the side of the road.
Okay.
That's wonderful.
Specifically,
so
how do you help?
Yeah.
I'm one who would offer food for them. I would offer assistance in helping them get housing. I would offer all different pieces of the puzzle, and also developing new life skills for them.
Oh.
So wonderful. It's great. It really is.
Yeah.
Well,
let's go around the horn and ask questions of our guest, Lawrence. Start with George Case, the host.
Yeah, well, Lawrence, I'm really happy to have you with us, and you're certainly involved in a tremendously worthwhile project. And my question to you is this, with regard to your project, we'll talk about baseball in a while, but are you doing this strictly on the West Coast, or is this a national organization? How does that all work?
I actually started, I was involved in a car accident back in December of 2017, and I've wanted to help people all my life from being a survivor. And I wanted to make it national, but I had to take the steps very slowly. But Mayor Garcetti here in Los Angeles is behind me, the city council. I know there's more people who I could help also.
It's wonderful.
Well, there are certainly many veterans organizations, and, when we're tying it into baseball, I mean, Bob Feller, before he passed away, Bob Feller, who pitched for the Cleveland Indians and, Hall of Famer, one of the greatest of all time, he was very actively involved in veterans, affairs and raising awareness of all the World War II veterans. Well, obviously, since that time, we've been involved in many other conflicts, and certainly the disabled and the handicapped and the homeless people and the kids and all. I mean, it's a tremendously worthwhile venture that you've started. And I would think that somewhere along the line, either Major League Baseball or some of the veterans organizations would be, really interested in doing something for you on a national basis.
Yeah, Ralph, I have to go. My brother's trying to get through.
Okay.
See you later.
Bye.
Lawrence, go ahead.
One piece that I would also love to offer is I help a lot of the veterans to get their benefits. So if there are veterans out there, I would love to help them get their World War II benefits and the other benefits as well. So if there are people out there who need the help, I'll be more than happy to help them, assisting them. Is there so many?
Well, the reason I brought it up, because like the baseball assistance team and players organizations and stuff in baseball and other organizations throughout the country are really trying to come up with ways to help people who really need assistance, and those who have sacrificed and have done so much for this country. The Veterans Affairs Committee, and they've tried to, do better work at the veterans hospitals and all this kind of stuff. So, I mean, I think you have a very worthwhile cause. And, my opinion, just as a layman, I have no connections to really go to baseball, but I would think that somebody in Major League Baseball headquarters, if that's the direction you wanted to go, might be very, very helpful to you. And Major League Baseball, because they're looking for ways to improve their status in the communities, because right now baseball is sort of lost favor as the national pastime because of, football taking over and all the other sports. But this just might be an opportunity for some funding to be available. I'm just talking off the top of my head. I really don't know. But David Hubler, you're in D.C. Maybe you know something about it.
Sadly, I don't. I have no idea. In fact, I was going to ask. I'm not even sure what kind of program we're talking about here, because I haven't really heard too many of the details. So if you could fill in some
Lawrence,
of the details.
why don't you elaborate on your program?
Okay, the program, as I'm saying, it's benefiting all three of the sectors that we're looking at: the abused children, the veterans, and the homeless. The abused children angle is helping every child that society is trying to cast off into our mental health system. With the veterans, it's the veterans who are left behind. The homeless are people in your everyday life who you're passing right by. And if you give them a chance and you're not afraid of them, they could be the nicest people you ever meet.
That's true.
No question.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit and get to baseball and baseball analytics. Lawrence, you're talking to some old school guys here, and I have found that analytics is it challenges us because it's all new. The word itself implies a new way of statistical analysis, and it basically intimidates a lot of folks. Now, the Dodgers have been leaders in compiling analytics and using it. From what I understand, they took their old clubhouse and put cubicles in it, and they've got like 20, 30 guys sitting on computers analyzing literally every pitch. Am I correct about that, Lawrence?
Yes, you are. Because going through every single pitch, like you could see Clayton Kershaw throwing a screwball, but they're looking at the times it spins in his hand, how many times it takes to get a revolution, to get to the plate, how many times it takes for the ball to go from bat to the outfield, how many times it spins throughout the motion. Mm-hmm. Like you might have something that someone throws a ball that's 93 miles per hour, but it takes 110 miles per hour just to get to the outfield.
Okay. Mm-hmm. How did you first get involved with statistics, analytics? Were you a baseball fan first, or, excuse the expression, a computer geek first?
For me, actually, math has always been very simple, and I love the challenge anytime someone's put in front of me.
Okay.
And every time I had there was this teacher, his name was Ron Raskin, and he would always have a problem of the day on the board. But I would be able to solve it in a snap of the finger. And that got me into wanting to become a statistician. Then I worked with Chick Hearn.
Oh, really?
And I moved forward.
Wow.
Yes.
Did he ever fake you out of the popcorn machine?
Yes, he did.
All right. That was his famous line.
And he actually came up with the term slam dunk.
Really? Didn't know that.
Slam dunk. See, during the mid-'60s, the slam dunk was actually against the rules in NBA basketball.
Wow.
So Wilt Chamberlain had a lot of his points taken away that he should have listed.
I don't know about that, but
yeah, that was true. That was true.
That's true.
They did.
True.
They did ban the slam dunk. Absolutely.
Well, did Wilt have points? It wasn't banned when Wilt played.
Yes, it was for a while.
Yes, it was.
I did not.
All he could do was just sort of drop the ball in, but he couldn't hit the rim.
Well, I know. Let me just add to this. I know when I was in college, we could not dunk. And in 1976, Rutgers went to the Final Four. They had 5 guys on that team that could dunk, and they were not permitted by the NCAA to do that. So that was a rule that was passed, and I believe it applied to both college and the pros. And Wilt was the reason for it.
Yeah.
Well, I know it applied in college. I have some skepticism about whether it applied in the pros. I'm going to do some research, and I've been proven wrong 7 times this week, and I'd like to go for 8. That's my lucky number. So,
I'm not trying to prove anybody wrong, but I'm just trying to give the backup of the slam dunk rule. And it was funny how that came into play. Because you were having players who were 7 foot tall, and that was the only way they could get the ball in the basket.
True. It was designed to open up the game a little bit. I know Wilt's presence caused the expansion of the foul lane. It used to be like a T, and they expanded it. I don't know exactly how much.
Yeah, it looked like a key originally.
Yeah, it was. It was narrow, and it did look like a T. You're right, David. And they did expand it. They expanded actually when I was playing high school. It started as a T, and then it expanded because the guys were getting bigger. And they had to move them away a little bit because you could just dominate if you were standing underneath. You could be able to get it. And I think that also George Mikan was partially and maybe wholly responsible for that initially because he was the real first big man.
Yeah,
he was, 6'10", 6'11", when he played for, in Minneapolis. So it might have been what they called the Mikan Rule when they did expand it. And then I think it's even a different shape for the Olympics. I think it's
it was.
Years out.
Yes, exactly. First, it had several iterations. It went from the key-looking narrow lanes to the lanes widening to where the semicircle went straight back to the end line. Then they actually widened it again after several. The Olympics were the first to widen it out, so now it looked anything but like a key. It was a widening wedge that went toward the end line, and that's where it is today.
Right.
And with that came the 3-second rule, where you couldn't stay under the within the lane for more than 3 seconds.
But if you also remember in Olympic basketball, there is offensive goaltending allowed, but in professional ball, you can't do it.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
You could get because you could get the ball. See, in the Olympics, you could get the ball right off the rim and go right back up.
Right.
But
Can't
in
do that in
organized ball, they don't allow it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
How did you get the attention of the Dodgers, or did they approach you to help them in their analytical program?
It was back in high school with the math competition.
Okay.
And I put
what
my
is
name out
that?
there at that point.
What is that competition?
It was the Scholastic Math Bee of Southern California at that point.
Okay. And you won that, am I correct?
Yes, I did.
And did they come to you, or did you go to them? That's my question.
I went to them at first to see if I could work in their PR department.
Okay.
And from the application process, they went into analytics.
Okay. What year was this?
1992.
Wow. And they were talking analytics in 1992?
Yeah. But, see, it really didn't take effect until do you remember an issue called Moneyball?
Yeah.
Back in 2000.
Yeah.
Billy Bean had the idea where he could have an analytics person sitting behind home plate to draw every single issue of the baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And he was trying to measure how he could afford a salary cap without having the salary cap. That's how the analytics came into baseball.
That's how it originally came out, right, Lawrence? Yeah.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
how many people
did
did
the Dodgers jump
have?
on that right away and try to emulate it?
They tried to emulate it as early as 1999 in Vero Beach baseball, in Class A baseball.
Okay.
But for the Dodgers, they were actually second in line for it.
Okay.
Have you worked with
that would have been Lawrence? That would have been at Dodger Town in Vero Beach. That's where they all the they brought all their minor league organizations, into that area to have all the different fields and so forth. So that's been a very a prominent project in baseball. Now I don't know how many of the other teams are doing things similar, but the Dodgers were certainly, I believe, the first with that Dodger Town concept.
Right.
See, Dodger Town really was formatted for that era. The Dodgers at one time had 7 teams playing in Vero Beach, which people don't remember.
Yeah.
You had 17 teams?
Yeah, they had.
There's nobody here that doesn't remember. You're talking to baseball fanatics, Lawrence. May I ask you, Lawrence, were you a baseball fan first?
Yes, I was.
And my final question, and I'm going to throw it to these guys, is which, and I'm going to put this in quotes, new age analytic statistics, end quote, do you use as a fan?
As a fan, I'm actually using a four tray of issue, which goes from the pitcher to the catcher in my analytic number.
Okay, that's a little esoteric for us. I think I'm going to throw a statistic that I hadn't heard but about 7-8 years ago before, and that is slugging percentage, on base plus slugging percentage, or OPS it's called.
Okay.
And
let me give you an example of someone with that kind of numbers, just to give you a person out of the blue. You look at Matt Kemp. Does everyone know who Matt Kemp is?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Matt Kemp's OPS in 2014 was 0.73. His on-base percentage was 0.258. So in an analytic number, it's 0.990. But his on-base percentage wasn't even 21% of that total that they were looking at. But with the analytic number, they were looking at how he could get paid, how he could make his on-base percentage, and even 40%. But people were throwing away all the walks. They were hit batsmen or getting on base through the strikeout. If you know what I'm saying, on base by strikeout.
Yeah, the ball gets past the catcher and the runner takes off to first.
Right. But people were forgetting about that, all because they were trying to say people were on base prior to that. But with that, originally, it was an analytic number that Major League Baseball put into effect.
Okay.
Because there's 5 different ways you could get on first base without getting a batted ball.
Pass ball, for instance.
Pass ball, hit by pitch, right?
Wild pitch.
Correct.
Hit by pitch, hit by batter, right? Walk.
Correct.
And then the strikeout with
strikeout, the catcher drops the ball.
Yeah.
Catcher's interference.
Yeah. Or catcher's interference, exactly.
Catcher's interference is not the same as a strikeout. And also, you can get on base.
That's number 8 right there. I didn't know that. Okay.
Huh.
No,
how do you explain pitcher's interference? I don't see that one at all.
No, catcher's interference.
Right, that's what he said, and I explained it.
No, you said pitcher. You said pitcher.
I'm asking because it said one of you was saying pitcher's interference, and I had never heard of that term.
Catcher's.
No,
catcher. Well, yeah, of course. If the catcher's mitt hits the bat, that's catcher's interference. Everybody knows that.
But the thing with that does not count as legal at bat. You could get on base without hitting the ball with that.
Sure.
Okay.
All right.
You're not counted. See, the at-bats are counted only on a strikeout or a ball in play.
Okay.
Got it.
Let's get off the subject of statistics. Who's your favorite ball player, Lawrence?
You say of today's baseball or going back in days?
Your all-time favorite ball player, and I'm going to ask you, first tell me who he was.
Jackie Robinson.
Oh, no wonder you're friends with Ronnie.
There you go, Ronnie. Ronnie, did you put him up to that?
Yeah, I bet. I bet he did.
No, he didn't.
Ronnie is in line for Producer of the Year at the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. He gets us the most interesting guests, and you're one of them, Lawrence. Welcome. How did you come to like Jackie?
All because of hearing all about his history, everything that he had to go through in order to get into baseball. He was a veteran. He brought so much to society as a person. He was the genuine article.
Did you grow up in the New York area? Did you to see him play?
I was born in Montreal.
Oh, well, he played there in '46.
Right.
Actually, I'm probably the youngster of the group. I'm
only You are.
Yeah.
So you did, but when he played with the Dodgers, when he played with Brooklyn, you didn't get to see him, did you? If you
no, I did not.
Yeah, interesting.
No.
Do they honor Jackie because he played with the Montreal Royals?
Yes,
he broke in with the
the Montreal team. Did they honor him in Montreal?
They actually honored him twice. He was honored when they brought the O into baseball back in '69. They honored him then, but then again they brought his name back up as the first jersey retired in Montreal in '79, which was actually retired in all of Canada.
Really?
What number was that?
It was also 42 at that point.
He wore number 42 with Montreal, did he?
Right, correct.
I didn't know that. Very interesting. So they do pay him homage.
Yes, they do.
Oh, yes. Yeah, they do.
Okay. How did you come here, and did your family move when you were young, or did you decide to come as an adult?
My grandparents were the ones who raised me as a child.
Okay.
And they, the courts put me with my grandparents, and my grandparents moved from Montreal to Detroit, then on to California.
Okay. They didn't hit the Bronx, did they?
My grandfather was actually born in the Bronx.
Really? Was he? Really?
Right.
He was raised in the Bronx. I can't say he was born in the Bronx. He was born in Montreal, but he was raised in the Bronx.
Very cool.
Isidore Perlmutter.
An Italian, right? An Italian.
No.
Correct? No? All right.
No.
Just checking.
You know, there were times that they called the Bronx the Canada of America, of New York, actually, because we were the northernmost borough.
Absolutely.
If you really look at it, it only takes about 2 hours to go from Buffalo, New York, into Canada.
Right.
Ah.
Right.
2 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you could be in Toronto in 2.5 hours from Buffalo into Toronto.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right.
Interesting.
That's right.
I was conceived in Niagara Falls, and
That explains a lot.
Well, because
on the New York side or
I don't know which side of the border I was conceived on, but literally was my parents' honeymoon there. So there you go. Lawrence, I'm just trying to, hungering for questions to ask. Were you a Montreal Expos fan? And do you follow? And if so, do you follow them in Washington?
I do not follow them in Washington.
Okay.
My teams that I followed growing up, I enjoyed the Dodgers, as we were talking about.
Right.
I enjoyed Gary Carter when he played with the Expos. And I look at Tim Raines.
Oh, Rock. Yes. Terrific ball player.
Terrific.
He should have been in the Hall a lot sooner than he got in.
Yeah, well, just that he got in nowadays. Gil Hodges needs to get in.
He sure does.
You're a Dodger fan. Among others, Marvin Miller needs to get in.
Minnie Minoso.
Yes.
Yes.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Julio Becerra.
Tony Oliva.
Right?
Tony Oliva.
Am I right, George? Julio Becerra?
Well, he was a good player. I don't think he's Hall of Fame caliber, but certainly, Tony Oliva, I agree with Ronnie. I mean, I've maintained that all along. I mean, Tony Oliva should definitely be in. It's just that his knee injuries and all that kind of stuff that really hurt his career, but he was such a great hitter and, was right there, with Killebrew and Carew. On those great Minnesota teams. So I agree with that. I do have one question to ask you, Alan, with regard to, or Lawrence, with regard to statistics. I'm just curious, and I'm not a statistics person, but do the Dodgers use your stats that your group works on? Does that get to the decision making of the manager on the field, or is it used by, the general manager, or is it used by agents, representative? I'm just curious as to how, your statistics are utilized by the Dodger organization.
It goes to Dave Roberts in pieces. Because Dave's looking. See, this was years ago. The managers were able to look at the computer screens right firsthand. Now you look at it, they have to take pictures of everything and give it to them that way. So you're not allowed. You can't have your laptop on the bench as you're doing statistics anymore, because they feel there's a camera in there that's tipping pitches. If you see what I'm saying with that.
Okay.
So
that sounds.
So they get him information, and you said, what is he looking for, and how does he use the information that you guys?
He's looking at He's looking at location. How many times a call? Say you're in the right corner of home plate. How many times a curveball is called a strike? How many times it's called a ball? How many times the umpire's asking for help on a call?
Mm-hmm.
And
how does this help him?
He's able to position the catch. Say you're having Barnes in a particular position. Mm-hmm. You're able to say to Clayton, you need to move over 2.5 inches just to get that call.
Wow.
Now, I was at a Nats seminar when they brought down some of the stats people to talk to us, and one of the things that was pointed out to me, which I hadn't noticed before, was a large metal box that was hanging over the mezzanine level behind home plate, and we were told that box was collecting lots of statistics and sharing them with all the other major league teams at the same time. In other words, it was like almost like a melange of statistics going in and out from game and from all the games going on at that particular time. Not that they were used at that moment, but each team had access to the stats of the other teams. Does that fit in with what you're doing?
That was the old way of doing it.
This was only about 3 years ago.
Right. But see, at that point, analytics were shared throughout baseball. Now they're trying to condense it only to their own team. That's the other thing that we're forgetting, yeah.
Have you worked with other major league teams too, Lawrence?
I did some part of the other analytics stuff that I did was connected with the Angels and with teams out here.
On the West Coast, yeah. Okay.
Correct.
Interesting. Very interesting. It's a new form of baseball. I mean, it's really become a big thing.
Guys, we were saying one thing about Hall of Famers. One other person who did deserve to get into the Hall a lot sooner, and tell me if I'm right or if I'm wrong, was Lou Whitaker of Detroit.
Yes. I think
his numbers would have represented a Hall of Famer back in when he retired. But I agree. So many fans are going to be forgetting him by the time he gets elected.
Right. That's true.
It took Jack so long to get in. It took Alan Trammell so long to get in, and these players had just retired, all in the last 10 years.
Right. Right. Yeah, I don't know. It's a very slow process. It's frustrating sometimes to me that they aren't getting in sooner. And things like Gil Hodges and Tony Oliva and Minnie Minoso.
Because they should not be waiting 50 years for Tony Oliva to get in. Gil should have been in first ballot. Not either first ballot or because right now, as we're saying, the veteran committees are getting older, but the people are getting younger. People aren't remembering all the players of yesterday.
That's true. That's true.
Lawrence, what's a typical work day like for you as a statistician working for the Dodgers?
It was being there at, like, say you have a baseball game that starts at 7. We're setting up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon with the first set of numbers, because we're still going on the numbers of every team that's inside the organization, from your Class A teams to your AA to your AAA to Major League Baseball, because you're trying to have a proper setting by the time of first pitch. Because just in case you have to make a call up, say at 2 o'clock someone got injured, you want to measure their numbers at that point. If they would fit in,
up to the moment.
Lawrence, let me ask you this: How do the numbers get to you from the minor league clubs? I mean, I understand the premise, but how do you evaluate that number, and where does it come from, and how do you get it in time to pass that information along to the Dodgers organization? I mean, if you're talking about a Class A farm club or four or five leagues away from the major leagues, that information doesn't get to them on a per pitch basis, does it?
Yes, it does. Because so you have to look at it this way. A lot of your call-ups are notified by 7 o'clock in the morning. You're getting it a lot earlier than we're setting up, because you're getting some numbers from the previous evening.
Oh,
that's how people are. Yeah, because say like Clayton's injured. You found out at 11 o'clock last night, Clayton's going to be out for 6 months. You would find out that quickly how quickly you could get a rookie brought up. You go through every single pitch he's thrown throughout the months leading up to that.
Now, what percentage of credence does, say, the general manager give to the statistics when he has to make a decision of whom to call up, based on everything else he knows?
Guys, I'll be right back. Hold on.
Okay.
Lawrence?
Yeah. I would base that actually, they're looking at about 25%. Like, you have 4 different pieces of it. 25% of each category is how they would dictate that number.
Okay. And how many people are actually involved? I said I estimated 25 plus. Am I correct?
You're looking at 32 people.
Wow.
Wow, that's right. Wow.
Yeah, and Lawrence, where are you? 32 people. Are you at Chavez? I mean, are you at Dodger Stadium, or are you at an off-site location? I mean, how does that work?
Chavez Ravine has 3 different spots. Like, we have one person who's sitting in the PR department who's looking at every single pitch throughout the system.
Throughout the system, you mean minor league system too?
Right, because you're looking at consistency of the same kind of the same mechanisms throughout the organization.
Now, do each of the 32 people take a separate category? And
yes, they do.
Okay. Now, for instance, do you change off, or are some people good or experts on one way of compiling statistics, or how does that work? How do they determine which category you'll be working on, for instance?
Like for me, they know I could do the numbers. I could do the complete equation of 14 different numbers at the same time. I'm like their human computer. You feed me the information, I'll process the information that quick.
Okay. Wow. So, for instance, what category will you be working on any given day? What are the categories that you enjoy?
I enjoy the curveball or the screwball. Okay. Most pitchers could only throw the curveball at 3,200 revolutions. But with the screwball, you're looking at 14 times that amount.
Wow. Why is that? Is that something physiological in the human arm?
It goes back to, because you look at how Dr. Job did his surgery back in the 70s with Tommy John. That's how they recognized that he would be able to return to baseball. Because back in the mid-70s, back in the mid-60s, people weren't returning from Tommy John surgery. You have that thoracic surgery, your history.
Yeah, or the ones that would come back would have to readjust their games, like Frank Tanana, as an example, went from a fastball pitcher to a junk ball pitcher.
Finesse. Yeah.
Okay. But that's changed, of course. Now guys come back and they're faster than they were before surgery at times because they tighten up the ligaments, this, that, and the other thing. I'm sure there's a more technical term for that, but I'm not a doctor. Okay. Is it like a team of statisticians? Are you judged? Are you judged by your competence? How would you advance in the system, in your job?
The only advancement for me would be just having more numbers to be able to look at, more information to compel even more statistics.
Okay.
And that's how I would advance.
And there's, I'm sure there's a supervisor. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
And you guys get together. Do you have like a pre-game meeting with each other?
Yes, we do.
Okay. What does that entail? How does the supervisor run that meeting? And is it a give and take, or is it kind of a monologue from the boss?
It is a lot of give and take. Because you have so many people looking at the same statistical balance.
All right. Are different people analyzing the same statistic in a different way? Like the Bible, the interpretation is what it's about.
Every number is interpreted different.
Okay.
You could say.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead about interpretation. Give me an example of that.
Okay. Take as I put this first person into the factor, Kemp. Someone might look at his analytic number for how quickly he could go from home plate to second base. But people are looking at his analytic number. You okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
You're looking at his speed of going from home plate to second. But you're looking at his step by step, pace by pace. And there's many ways of doing that, but people are doing it systematically to calculate how quickly he should be able to get on second base. You're not going to have someone who hits a ball down right field who runs, say, 5 miles per hour, and he should have a triple, but he's only at first base.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Interesting.
That's best way.
Very interesting. David, are you back?
Yes.
Is there anything you'd like to ask our guest, Mr. Perlmutter?
No, I've asked. I was listening now because I've asked my questions and comments.
Okay, George, would you like to ask Mr. Perlmutter?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm interested in the subject because, like I said, Lawrence, I'm not a stats person. I'm more of a baseball fundamental history and that kind of stuff. But you know, because my dad played. I grew up in baseball, and they never had this analysis of the game. It was always based on either knowledge of the player, or fundamental knowledge, or background that you had. You didn't have all the benefit of this. Now, my question is, how is all this information utilized? I mean, are the other ball clubs? I know Boston was doing something, and you're doing something in L.A., but what about all the Major League ball clubs? Do they all have their own systems that they're using, or are you are the Dodgers looking to, market this analytical analysis to other ball clubs? How does that all work?
We are trying to get it throughout baseball, but it's all part of the rules committee now. Because you're still looking at ways that people are contradicting idea. But you are trying to market it throughout Major League Baseball and the minor leagues.
Okay. Does that answer your question, George?
Yeah, I think it answers it. I mean, I'm just not that familiar with all that's going on. I mean, I've always said that, I feel there are certain fundamentals and certain things, maybe a manager will go with his gut feeling or somebody will say something to him, or a pitching coach will look at the mechanics of the pitcher and say, hey, we got to do something. We got to make a change. He's lost some velocity on his fastball, or his location's off, or whatever it is. Now, what you're saying is that information is probably being fed to the manager somehow so that he can say, hey, the computer is telling me one thing, but my gut is telling me something else. Now, what takes the precedent now? Is it still a game of fundamental thinking by the manager, or has it become one that you're looking at the statistics and saying, hey, the computer says we should make this certain move or do this certain thing, or the pitcher's velocity? I mean, pitchers that I know, they're looking at it at their breaking ball and say, hey, my breaking ball is not working today, so I'm going to go to my fastball, or I'm going to use the changeup, or I'm going to, I got to get my location down, whatever. Is your system...
I'll give you a pitcher who really blew it out of proportion. You look at Darvish. He should never have been pitching for the Dodgers back against Houston, if you remember that game 7
right.
of that series.
Right.
Everyone knew before he even pitched that day, he should not even be pitching.
So why was he pitching?
All because he wanted a contract. The Dodgers wanted to see what he had, if he was going to be worth another contract. And they should have taken him out way before they did.
Way before. You're right. That's right. He was telegraphing pitches too, I believe. Huh?
Go ahead.
He was telegraphing pitches too. They claimed
he was tipping them. If you know that term.
Yeah.
Because as soon as he got the ball into his glove, he was twisting it just to get more velocity. But he should never have been put in that position for that game.
Okay.
Okay.
I agree. He was in there way too long.
Have you talked to statisticians from other organizations? Do you have like group meetings or Lawrence?
We don't have. At one point, we were doing it, but it's not something big.
Okay.
You're not. In some ways, you're passing. It's like you're passing secrets, and you really don't want the opposition knowing your complete secret or guideline with that.
Okay. What would you tell someone who's young and thinking of getting into this line of work? What would you tell them?
I would say to them, study all your math habits as well as you can, and just aim high.
Okay.
Good advice.
Do anything that you put your mind to.
Okay. Would it take a baseball fan to do what you do, or you are a baseball fan and you love the game, but could a math student who has no real idea of the nuances of the game and no interest in it, could he or she do well in the statistical part of it?
Yes, they can.
Okay. So are you working with some people that just don't know, what's the expression, their ass from second base?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Is that unusual, or is that, the norm, kind of the norm?
It is the norm over the years.
Okay. So say I came in, I didn't know where I was, and I came into your work group and kind of overheard the chit-chat and this, that, and the other thing. Would I say that as a fan, would I say that, would I be able to understand what you're talking about? As just a fan with no math background, and I know how to for baseball cards I could figure an ERA. That's not bad. But would it interest me to be around you guys?
At some points it would, but most of your analytics people are coming from MIT. You're looking at people who are coming from Stanford. You're looking at people who are always into numbers.
Okay. Hey, listen, for a statistician who is not used to humans as opposed to numbers, you gave a hell of a good interview this morning.
Thank you, guys.
You did, really. It was wonderful. Thank you, Lawrence.
I just wanted to ask you about your foundation. Are you getting any help from the Dodgers with your project?
No, I'm not. I'm doing this actually all by myself.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful.
And I would love to work with all of you guys as part of my team with this.
Okay, well, we'll give you all the airtime. If you just befriend me on Facebook, I will copy and paste to the Comfortably Zoned site on Facebook anything you have going.
Thank all of you for having me as your guest.
Lawrence, thank you so much.
Yes.
We appreciated it.
Okay.
Great.
I don't want to shortchange anybody.
I'm sorry.
Go around the room one more time. George, anything you have left to say?
Well, no, I really appreciate Lawrence here. It's a totally different approach to looking at baseball for many of us who we're not of the computer literate age, but it certainly is a new age in baseball and statistics. And Lawrence, I wish you well, and I wish you well with your veterans and homeless project. I think it's tremendously worthwhile. So good luck to you.
Thank you, George, and I look forward to talking to you very soon also.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks so much, Lawrence.
Thank you very much. David Hubler, you want to say anything in closing?
No, I was just quite interested. Thanks a lot, and best of luck to you.
Okay.
Thank you, David.
Okay.
Thank you
so
all.
much, Lawrence.
Thank you for
Appreciate
listening,
it.
everybody, and be well.
Yep. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
The proceeding was a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production. Thank you for listening.